Say they are lazybones used to scrounging, and you make up your mind to help them get on their own 2 feet. The best way to help someone is to create conditions for their self-development and personal growth, instead of trying to fix people. For example, you could try another tack. Don't say you must, you need, it's urgent. Just tell them a story that will make them understand. Awaken your love to God and observe this love in everyone's heart. Because the best help, the most sublime help, is that from on high, the help of the Creator. Good afternoon, Master. Hello. How can we help our loved ones? Should we do it? It often happens that we want to help them when we set out on the path of spiritual development. Or is it a personal choice of everyone? It all depends on the level of consciousness of this person and what they want to do for their loved ones, on the level of assistance. The assistance can be provided on the mental, emotional, or physical level. It all depends on the situation within the family and on the specifics of the relationship. However, the highest level of assistance is when we help another person to generate a power through which they will be able to act. For example, you help someone by giving them clothes when they don't have any, you give them meals, or assist in their job. It comes and goes. The changes are not permanent and won't make this person self-sufficient. But if you teach them how to awaken their willpower through spirituality and show them the way to better living, for this you should, of course, possess all of this. If you give them advice or help them with what will make them self-sufficient, the consequences will be noticeable for the years to come. This is why, to my mind, the best way to help someone is to create conditions for their self-development and personal growth. However, you should start with yourself, because at the fundamental level, the first person who is in need of your help is yourself. You may know what advice to give, however. Your words don't sound persuasive to another person because they don't feel your power of conviction. They don't see that you possess it. You may be just sharing information. And they can think or feel that it's not enough for them and won't follow your advice, even if you sincerely want to help. Why does it happen? Because you don't have that which you are talking about. I'm not referring to you personally now. This is just an example intended to show that people who give advice to others must, first of all, attain that which their advice refers to. It means that in real life we should start with ourselves. When you possess something, you can share what's in your possession with others. If you have no advice to give but sincerely want to help someone, you can pray. Because the best help, the most sublime help, is that from on high, the help of the Creator. Many times I was in a situation where there was nothing I could do. This is exactly the reason why I couldn't do anything then. It was time for me to appeal to the Almighty. I prayed for other people when I lacked power and knowledge. By and large, people lack power and knowledge. Even when knowledge is available to someone, it may or may not be assimilated. It may or may not help. When you are in a tough or difficult situation, the higher powers come into play, and you can appeal to God for help. Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba used to say, At the end of the day, certain things happen to you just to prove that your selfhood and self-sufficiency are not at all unlimited, that your possibilities have boundaries. And when you are unable to do anything, these events happen for you to realize that there are boundaries to your selfhood. You appeal to God and get His help in an inexplicable way, because the Creator always knows how to do best. Simply speaking, when there is nothing you can do about something, you turn to God, and it happens. If your problem is very serious, you fully invest yourself into your appeal. A serious problem forces you to be sincere in this situation. And in your social life, when you deal with simpler matters, it is possible just to give advice on how to get back on one's feet. For example, you could teach someone to work. Say they are lazybones used to scrounging, and you make up your mind to help them get on their own 2 feet. In other words, you reprogram their life. This is the best you can do for them. Many people ask how to achieve harmony in the family. For example, one of the family members practices spirituality, yoga, and is very determined, while others are against such practices. What's the way to balance the scales in this situation? Because this question concerns many families. The problem is the lack of feelings, lack of love. They don't strive for unconditional perception, for unconditional love, for the perception of this sublime love. The problem is in the limited consciousness, or, simply speaking, in their ego. When one tries to prove one's point to their nears and dears, it suggests that no one has no feelings and no love within. They try to prove their point because they love themselves. They see only themselves in this situation, and this is a problem. It doesn't only happen to ordinary people, but to highly spiritual people as well. Well, spiritual to a certain extent, to leaders of certain orders, to heads of religious societies. You see, all of them are affected by this virus of ego. They have attained such a high level, and still they compete. At best, in the worst-case scenario, they fight against other confessions and so on. Why does it happen? Because ego plays a very important role in people's lives. It's a way of self-expression. Speaking about family relationships, if one loves another person, one accepts this person as they are. Sometimes I'm asked, how do I learn to love? How do I at least try to do that? Here you are, you love a person, but it's so hard to make them understand what I want. To inflict good, as they say now. Here I counter with a question of my own. What do you want to do for this person? I want to explain that they must do this and this. I want to explain that they are wrong. I want them to do well. Have you asked them whether they want the same? They can come to an agreement, but in this case they don't act out of love. They are shackled by convention. If you want to help someone, if you truly want to mend your relations, create conditions for self-development, even if it requires self-sacrifice. Because essentially a family is a forge of spirituality. A husband and wife love each other. They live together for 1 or 2 or 3 years. Then some disagreement erupts between them, usually relating to everyday or social matters. Even worse if they disagree about spiritual matters, because it means that they have no common goals. One of them should be wiser than that. In a family, this should be the husband. He assumed responsibility for this woman and must create conditions for her development. I don't want to say that a woman could take advantage of it. I'm talking about what a man must do. He creates conditions for development. He makes the conditions more comfortable. A woman must make their home comfortable for her husband to be in. And the husband must take care of all the aspects of their family life. Thus, each one is in their place. How do you feel compassion for this person? At least remember that they suffer. At least think about how uncomfortable they feel in this situation. When, for example, a husband and a wife are arguing, each standing their ground, both suffer. It will take them time to calm down, let go of negative feelings, and take their egotistical outbursts under control. This wave of negativity must ebb away. They are kind of changing their positions, at the planetary level or otherwise. The situation could be caused by astral influences, as it is often astral influences that trigger unpleasurable events. Now, people often find information about the so-called operators of consciousness that affect people's mind and psyche. These are astral influences. It takes some time for people to calm down. And there is the leitmotif of life, an understanding that we are a family, we must be together. Someone progresses by manifesting more rationally and makes advances. Meanwhile, their ego constantly experiences a feeling of depression. It does not agree because it has to make a move, to take a leap of faith. This is when spirituality comes into play. When you make advances demonstrating your spirituality while diminishing your ego, even if this person is wrong about you, you step over it. At this point, you are not only stepping over your ego, but also taking a spiritual step forward. What do you care what they think of you? What difference does it make to a person what they think about them? If they understand that they make a conscious action within, they know what they are striving for. Why do you care about what your loved ones would think of you? They are those close to you, blood relatives, for example. You act to find a balance. You add harmony to this space. He is pure or spiritual who tries to balance the scales, put an end to the antagonism, and take control over these mood swings. And thus they become a beloved son or daughter of God, because they work hard seeking harmony. Going back to your question, every person responds to the events that happen at their level of consciousness, and then they settle these events. This is a family karma or karmic relationships in general. And if you want to practice spirituality within your family, commit to self-development. Learn to avoid inner conflicts, first of all, because they impact other people. If you don't like something within, it's best to work with this aspect. It may be a good idea to speak out, but when doing so, when telling the truth to another person, do it with love. Because if you tell the truth and it turns into criticism, this creates tension in the family. Many cultured people, noble people, who may feel very anxious or outraged within, they never take a liberty of venting their anger because they are noble. Remain calm in such situations and find the right words to either express their discontent in a peaceful and respectful manner, or somehow ease the tension, or remain silent. What's the difference between a spiritual person and one with an average mind, whose consciousness mostly dwells at the level of an animal, who is always ready to insult or impulsively act in a burst of anger or jealousy or whatnot? Their levels of consciousness are different. This is why they are born into a family where they must incarnate to go through certain challenges and settle their karma. When you understand all this, you will change your attitude to life and to yourself. This is the first stage. Often, families face a different situation. When everything is calmed down, other family members have accepted that you practice. And you, remaining in this state, want to evoke their interest in what you do. What can you advise here? How can we spark an interest for development and creativity in our loved ones? To do this, one should stop trying to fix people. Simply speaking, disable the preacher syndrome. When you discover something very interesting, you want to share it with your significant ones. But in doing so, people tend to be too persistent, trying to force it on another person. This is an element of fanaticism. You should shine. As I often say, fanatics should transform into beacons of light. Give them light to show them the way. When they see this beauty, they'll find their way towards it. Your only task is to show them where to go. The only exception here is when your relative that you are responsible for, usually a kid, has been obviously misguided and commits erroneous actions that can lead to tragic consequences. Here you are responsible. But if you want to convey it to grown-up people, you need to do it skillfully. In fact, it requires skills. It requires wisdom. It requires one to be a talented teacher to spark an interest in either kids or adults. For example, you could try another tack. Don't say you must, you need, it's urgent. Just tell them a story that will make them understand. Master Jesus used to tell parables for this. He never forced anything on other people. He just told stories depicting certain events. People who listened to him gained knowledge from a third person, perhaps. This would be a better approach, except when a child puts a finger in a socket, figuratively speaking, or an adult does something that you know can lead to unfortunate consequences. And you put a stop to it, because you have assumed responsibility. You may be rather harsh in doing so, but it will give them an understanding of why. And they will understand it immediately or a little later. When a family member practices spirituality without having enough knowledge to back up their practice, they begin to tell others that this is a very good system which absolutely must be practiced. The question is why? People begin to wonder, why should we practice this system? Practice it if you want. This is our life, we have our own interests. We have our own nightclub of life that we want to frequent. We practice different things there. Their interests come into contradiction, thrown into the scale. There is darkness and there is light. For this person, light is their spiritual practice. For those people, light is what they like. Misguided are those who spoil their lives through it, because they can't see beyond it. But you can. You know what will happen. So find good examples to explain it to them. The most important thing is that if you have the power of conviction that emerges from your personal practice, from your personal experience, and believe in what you are talking about, it will certainly be recorded in people's consciousness. And when masters talk about certain things, they talk from personal experience, and do so to those who have authority. Why were Pharisees afraid of Jesus' Messiah? Because his every word activated very powerful, transformative processes in the consciousness of those who listened. He talked as one having authority. And those in power now can't talk at all, because they have no authority. Their authority is formal, as there is nothing behind it. There is no concept of spirituality. This is why they compete. This competition will end when both sides start to talk about constructive endeavors that are to become the new focus in their lives. In this case, in the family, and in the extended family in general. By the way, an extended family is our state, or the earth, if you like. This is why now true spitual leaders, not those who were assigned this role, but true practitioners who really know a good deal about spirituality, who transform consciousness through teaching certain principles and talking about matters related to the transformation of consciousness, have power behind what they are talking about. Spiritual power, the power of spirit. And this is what alters the space. This is why they only talk when it is absolutely necessary. In Kriya, we call it master of thought, master of word, and master of deed. Master of thought is when you are deeply convinced of a sublime idea. Master word is when your thoughts meet your words, each being an extension of the other. Master of deed is when you practice, you act, and your thoughts correspond with your words and deeds. It's an enormous concentrated power. Then one will reach their goal, even if it is not highly spiritual, but they'll still reach it. For example, I say that I need to create a new piece of music. I've got an idea why it should come into existence, what its origin will be, how it will sound. I have said it, so I must do it. And that's that. It takes willpower. Then everything will be great for people. As a follow-up on this topic, nowadays we can observe the tendency that women have become more active than men. They frequent personal development events more readily and are more active in general. Why does it happen? Can you explain why men lag behind in this respect? Why they are less active than they should be? This trend didn't occur recently. Women have always been active. But there were times when men preferred to demonstrate pride and didn't pay attention to it. Now the space changes, consciousness changes, and women don't belong to men. They are part of one whole. Is it possible to say who is more active, God or the universe? The universe is Shakti, the primal spiritual universe from which emerged the material universe and all the worlds. This is Shakti, a woman, a feminine principle. There is a masculine principle of the Absolute that manifested as a feminine principle, which is more active, which is more important. Imagine two triangles that form the Star of David. The upper triangle is a masculine principle, the lower one is feminine. Together, they form a mandala. Neither is secondary to the other. They form one whole. This is why we now witness the formation of our consciousness, and we see that this process balances the scales. This is why, to some extent, the oppression of women, which was present in the consciousness of men earlier, is now less manifested, and women are becoming more active. But they were also active before, as I have already said. It's becoming more clear now because we pay attention to it. However, there is an aspect that involves our personality. We have talked about spiritual, philosophical aspects manifested at the cosmic level. Now we can talk about women becoming more active because they have feelings within. These feelings are triggered by the changes of this world and space. These feelings are expressed through their personality and ego, in a good sense. I want you to understand that I don't consider ego a bad aspect. Ego is a tool. It can be used for evil as well as good. Those who advocate development among women, there are more and more of them, are women who understand that they can reach very high levels if they put this tool to proper use. However, some of them go to the extremes and become very selfish, trying to become independent of men and never to rely on them. It's extreme. It shouldn't be like this. It's wrong. It's wrong from the perspective of balance and harmony. From the perspective of Advaita Vedanta, there is nothing at all. But from the perspective of the balanced world, of the dual universe, There should be a good balance, a good attitude to each other.
Должно быть хорошее отношение друг к другу. Поэтому, если мужчины действительно мудры,
And if men are really wise, they can channel this universal power of Shakti in the right direction and find what they are seeking much faster. And vice versa. Because a man's mind is more rational, his mental processes are more active. Of course, women are also intelligent, but they often act spontaneously. It doesn't mean that they are not clever. It might seem that I'm saying men are rational while women aren't. No, it's not the point. I'm saying that women are guided more by their feelings, emotions, this power of the elements. Men mostly rely on their mind and less on their feelings. To feel God, for example, and space, it's a higher level than just perceiving a concept mentally. So men should learn to feel as women do, and women should use the power of their mind as men do. And things will be balanced then. When two people meet, the energy of the male power and that of the female power join together and create a child, a new universe, simply speaking. In this very way should the relationship develop. In this very way should the spiritual development progress. It's very good that now women have become more active, noticeably active. And they were active before. Do you remember who pulled out the wounded and the dead during the war? Nurses, young, fragile girls. How strong they must have been. Cases are known when men couldn't deal with tough situations, but women could. Because they were not guided by their mind, they unlocked their reserves. This is an elemental force, an enormous power. In fact, the entire universe exists by virtue of the feminine principle. The only one who can calm Shiva is Mother Shakti, Kali. This is Mother Shakti, the energy of the feminine principle that can awaken creativity in Shiva. Because without this energy, Shiva is dead, Shivasana, Shava, actually. He is Shiva when Shakti is there. When Shakti is not there, he is Shava, which means he is dead, he doesn't exist. This is what I'm talking about. And vice versa, only Shiva could calm Kali, the impersonation of the raging elements. When she stepped on his chest, he lay so as to let her dance, not to ruin the universe. These are images, metaphors, but they convey a deeper meaning. This is why everything must be balanced. Master, you have already told some words about collective spiritual evolution. Can you give some inspiration to those couples or individuals who follow the path of spiritual self-development together? What could you advise them? It's simple. Awaken your love to God and observe this love in everyone's heart. When you talk to each other, try to see God in the heart of the other person, in the heart of your loved one that you talk to. Two people are not merely a husband and wife, they form one whole. They are the Creator Himself. He entrusted Himself to you when He manifested Himself in you. And your souls are now in these jivatmas. Your souls and those of your children have made one family. They form one whole. This is a whole universe. Don't think about yourself at this moment. Think about the integrity of your universe. That's the first thing. And the second, very important point, when you talk to each other, do it as if the Creator Himself is present in the heart, or consciousness, or divine cave of the other person. This is how it really is. Can you tell the Creator something inappropriate? You can't. This is why you should find the words of love and the words of comfort. Choose words that don't sound rude. And remember that you agreed to help each other before incarnating. This is a universal act. Don't allow yourself to sink into oblivion and diminish its significance. And when taking care about each other, you will evolve very fast. Here's the thing.
заметите,
and you will
насколько
notice how much stronger and wiser you become.
такие семьи очень
Families are very strong when there are common goals,
когда есть
when there is
понимание,
understanding
когда
and
есть
awakening of this unconditional love.
Но если один
But
не
if one
понимает
family
этого,
member is
другой,
expecting
допустим,
understanding,
ждет
while the other one
понимания,
doesn't
то вы не ждите
understand,
этого понимания,
don't
а
wait for the
делайте все
understanding,
необходимое для того,
but do
чтобы
whatever is necessary
это
to
понимание
evoke this
возникло.
understanding through
Через
personal
личный
example.
пример. Ну, к примеру,
For
муж
example,
пьет,
a man is a
жена
drinker
занимается
and his
духовной
wife is a
практикой, он
spiritual
против того,
practitioner.
чтобы она
He is
занималась.
against her
Он
practice,
продолжает
and he
пить
goes on
алкоголь,
drinking out
она
of
продолжает
spite, and she
заниматься,
goes on
возникает
practicing. They have
разногласие.
conflicts,
Она хочет
and
уйти
she
от
wants to
него.
leave
Я
him.
просто модель рассказываю,
This is
которая
just a model that is very common
возникает,
nowadays.
попадается. Она хочет уйти
She
от
wants to
него.
leave him.
Приходит ко
She
мне и
comes to me
говорит,
and
что мне
asks,
делать?
"What should I do?"
Я говорю, начни
I
служить
say,
своему
"Start
супругу
serving your
так,
husband as
как
you
ты это
should,
должна
irrespective
делать,
of what he
независимо от того,
does.
чем он занимается. Продолжай
Keep
молиться,
praying,
проси за
ask on
него,
his behalf,
молись,
pray and do
делай
whatever
всё,
is
что необходимо.
necessary."
Через буквально какое-то время он перестает пить,
Sometime later,
у
he
них
quits
возникает
drinking.
чувство
They revive their
снова
relationship and something changes.
меняется что-то. Это, конечно,
It doesn't happen so often as we might wish, but it
но это
works.
работает. Вдохновение
You'll find inspiration along the way.
Вдохновение это то, когда вы
Inspiration is when you appeal to the Almighty and understand that what you have now is a gift that makes you stronger. Just remember that this is not a challenge, not an exam. This is trust. When God entrusts fate of other people to you, even if they don't behave very well or correctly, He entrusts these fates to you because He trusts you personally. This is your personal communication with the Creator. This is an enormous source of inspiration, and there will be nothing to be afraid of. As I said at the beginning, if some issues are hard to settle and you don't know what to do, appeal to God. This is exactly the reason for these issues to arise. Appeal, and you will resolve them.